with Antonio Cammisecra, the Chief Executive of ContourGlobal. So, where you brought us here to Milan for a momentous occasion for the company, which is your 20-year anniversary. So what's so special about this milestone?
Thank you very much for the question. I'm very honored to be here as a CEO celebrating this 20 years of history of the company, which was founded 20 years ago by Joe Brand, which we have the honor to have with us today at the celebration party. 20 years ago, the model of independent power producer was not very common, and so the founder had this brilliant idea of gathering private capitals around an idea of founding an energy company with the purpose of investing in power assets around the world. So the global nature of ContourGlobal was infused into this idea from the very beginning. The company started working in pursuing power projects in difficult places in search of additional, let's say, extra remuneration and extra return for the capital that was invested at that time. Of course, 20 years ago, renewables were starting the penetration into the energy market, so the business model was more on conventional technologies. So we started with coal, then gas, oil, the energy of that time, like we like to say. And but CountourGlobal didn't miss the transformation wave that was happening in this sector, and then, as you know, spamming out of the sector and going to transform the entire society, because this is what basically the energy transition represented in the last 20 years. And so ContourGlobal also started looking for renewable projects, and we had our first investments in wind in Austria, and then in Peru, and then acquiring PV photovoltaic assets in Italy. And so, I mean, having this dual track of conventional fuels and renewables, and the big hydro power stations, actually the chain of power station in Armenia. So it was this dual track, let me say, I mean, of being a player in the conventional fuels and the fossil fuels, but also start harvesting the opportunities that were emerging from renewables.
So is this pivot to renewables, is it the company capitalizing on the trends of the day, or was that always the plan from the very start?
It is a difficult question for me to answer, but because of course we should ask this question probably to Joe, but honestly I think it's really characterizing this phase of so the next 20 years. I'm very proud to say that the decision after the KKR acquisition that happened in 2022, they bought this company with a clear idea of transforming the company, accelerating the transformation towards the renewables, let's say sustainable fuel, so gas and mostly renewables. And of course, I mean, they decided to bring me in the company because I have a very long trajectory, specifically in renewables, more than 20 years of experience in it. So when I joined ContourGlobal together with my shareholder KKR, we redesigned the industrial strategic plan, putting renewables at the center of the mission, basically, of ContourGlobal. So we are transforming the company really upside down, without departing from the original idea of being a global player in search for extra returns, in doing better than others our job, but putting at the center of our, let's say, value proposition, sustainability, energy sustainability. So we're now really transforming the company, not only investing in new renewable assets or developing new renewable assets, we are really transforming the company and giving to the company additional capabilities, which are the ones that are necessary in the new world of renewable energy, because of course 20 years have elapsed since 20 years ago. So now renewables are no longer a novelty. They represent a very important part of the energy mix of the most modern countries. So the role of renewables is changing quickly, and now it's becoming basically the backbone of the power generation in many countries. So what is now needed to be competitive, sustainable, effective in the market, it's changed a lot. So I tell you, I remember the first project I was doing 25 years ago were much easier from center point of view. Now
How
we
so?
have, there were feeding tariff schemes, very important supporting
Okay,
mechanism, lower competition. Only the big players were in the field. Now, if you sum up the first 5 players in the world, they don't represent more than 3% of the renewable markets.
Yeah.
So, just to give you an idea of how fragmented
Yeah.
this became. So this is good because, of course, it gives space to independent power producers like us.
Yeah.
And but again, now renewables are again no longer a little niche with certain perspectives. Now we are really literally the backbone of the energy system in many markets, including United States, including Italy, including including emerging markets in many countries around the world. Renewables are making their space on the basis of competitiveness, much more than before, through governmental support like subsidies or feed-in tariffs or stuff like that. So now the rule of the game are more complex. So this complexity, it's not necessarily, complexity typically is associated with negativity. I mean, complexity is opportunity. And so if you master complexity, having the best knowledge possible in this field, you can really make your space a better space in this industry than others. This is the dream that we have in mind, let's say the idea that we have in mind, and around which we are building the next 20 years ContourGlobal.
From our side, from people covering this sector, would it be accurate to say that ContourGlobal, which was even a couple of years ago a relatively smaller IPP, has since been almost punching above its weight even with inorganic growth? Every major M&A deal in the past couple of years, ContourGlobal's somewhere, either not the first stage or the second stage. Would that be accurate? It
would be accurate, but we've been very selective, though. I think we have been observing on our desk the major M&A transaction came as an opportunity, but we have discarded many of them for different reasons. First of all, we want to refocus much more geographically. We were up to 21 countries, and now we want to focus much more on a number of selected geographies where we can have a growth opportunity and when we can deliver the right value for our current shareholder, most importantly for the next one, because of course, you know, we are owned by KKR at a certain date. It's sad to be said, but they will sell us because that is the way they make money, and so we have to work for them, but also for the next. So focusing on a lower number of geographies allow us to reach easily scale synergies and critical mass, because of course we can focus on it, but we're still maintaining our global nature. So in our strategic plan we have defined it to be present in 10 countries. So we will scale down from the peak of 21. We are already today in 16, 17, and we will go down to 10 in the course of the next 5 years. How we will do that? We will sell activities in certain countries we do not consider core anymore, and we have opened new countries. We just entered in Chile with a fantastic asset. It's the largest solar plus BESS project of Latin America. I have named it, I like to give titles, you know, to friends. So we gave the Sol de Noche, sun at night.
Sun at night.
Sol de Noche, it's in Spanish, in Castellano. So sun at night, because we charge with our solar field batteries during the day and we sell power during the night to our off-taker. So it's a very important business model. Chile was the first country where we could do it. We're doing pretty much the same now in Arizona, selling power in California. I cannot disclose too much details of this because the project is still under, you know, the finalization and negotiation. We have a very prestigious off-taker that is working with us, very prestigious Californian off-taker. I will tell you more in few weeks. So that's another example of using solar power out of the solar time, so during the night. So we entered in Chile, I was saying, but also we are now targeting new European countries. We're developing in Germany, and we are actively pursuing opportunities in the UK.
In the UK?
In the
so
UK.
What is the criteria for the company? What makes a country or a region core to you?
we have a very clear and simple but severe decision-making matrix, which is based on a regulatory, let's say, framework. So it should be sufficiently easy for renewables to penetrate in that energy mix. So with either supporting schemes or, let's say, conditions for off-taking opportunities in that market. The second is the abundance of a natural resource. So we want to go in markets where renewable has their natural competitive advantage because of the characteristics of the country itself. So when you are in Chile and you're talking of solar, for example, you are talking of one of the best irradiation in the world. So that's the natural competitiveness of the technologies deployed in that specific country. And then of course we see the business environment. So how much appetite there is from off-taker from one side to buy clean power, but also of investors today and tomorrow to have assets in those countries. So the combination of three things, we have a ranking, and our proprietary ranking through which we calculate the attractiveness and of the defined country, but then also we benchmark this versus the competition. So okay, it's a fantastic place, but it's too crowded, very difficult to enter. So the margins are becoming lower and lower as effect of competition, probably not attractive for us. Or sometimes we bet on the fact that we can be a better player in a given market. So okay, even if it's somewhat stressed, we think we can be ahead of the competition for this and that reason. Okay. And so we dare to enter in the market, let's say, without not too much worried about competition. Right. Which probably is the case of UK.
In the So while you were speaking about that, does the grid connection conundrum, which is a problem across the globe, does that play into your decision making, or do you just take that as it is a problem that's everywhere? So
no, it's not. Yeah, it's a very good question. It's a problem that's everywhere, but of course not in the same level. So you have countries where you have a queue of 3, 4 years, 5 years, and countries where in less than 1 year you can be granted the connection. So there's a big difference in timing of the project. Yeah. But because we're building a ContourGlobal for the next 20, 40, 60, 100 years, if there is a long queue for connection, this is not a reason to completely abandon that market, because if the fundamentals are good, it's just that we start development knowing that it will mature in a much longer time than what we would love to have, but it may pay the cost of the patience to wait once you get that asset granted. So in some countries we are taking, because one of the ambitions that we're building in ContourGlobal is not to grow only exclusively through M&A, which will remain an important way for us to grow, but we're building a development, co-development and greenfield capability in the company. So we are now acting through co-development agreements, which means we undertake the development risk, but outsourcing the development activities to not overload the company too much with fixed cost, but for a minor part of our growth we are also targeting greenfield development. This is typically the case when we want to develop around our assets, where we have already the connection and we know very well the territory and the local communities, etc. So we can start negotiating and get land control and ask for requests for additional connection capacity, etc. So this is what we call the greenfield. And then progressively we will move out of our space, let's say, of our garden, and go a little bit in other places to go greenfield. So about 25% of our growth will be greenfield, and about 75% will be co-developments. And then there will be the M&A on top as an accelerator. The co-development is made in a way that we take the risk, as I said, but we leave the daily job to our partner. In those co-development agreements, some project will be more mature, let's say almost ready to build, ready for an investment in 1 or 2 years. And the big other volume will be mid-stage project for investments opportunities in 3, 4 to 5 years. And we will take some piece of the pipeline that can be early stage today in order to be ready in 2028, 9, 30, 31, 32, because we have to keep the flow of investments basically forever. We want to keep growing constantly over time. So we need also to put our hands on stuff that is, becoming ready in 5 years from now. Maintaining costs down, and if there is a long queue, but the projects are good and the fundamentals are good, there is no reason why not to do it. Not to discard a market only because there's a long connection queue.
Antonio, the reason I asked you about the grid connection is increasingly it's become not as straightforward because it's become a political football, so to speak. So in a lot of countries, even what were previously considered to be safe countries, developers are having to increasingly ask, if the government changes, would we have to worry about these queue of projects? Is there some sort of a negative sentiment or connotation for this asset class that is going to essentially mean that 5-6 years of work is just down the drain?
I understand the fear, especially the fear of developers, which are financially fragile companies, very exposed to anticipated cost, and then with a very let's say time to EBITDA, time to cash kind of business. So they are typically fragile companies with the need for support. This is why the scheme of co-development I was discussing before, I think it makes sense for us, but make a lot of sense for developers, because we want to support financially and economically those companies which are somewhat fragile, in exchange of getting the best project for us. Now, about the political, I think the worry is irrational. It's a rational worry, but honestly,
is there a consideration for would you consider that to be a factor when you make your decision to go into certain localities?
Not too much.
Okay.
And I'll explain you why. The renewables have a characteristic that is unique and cannot be beat, and which is the time to EBITDA. It's less than 2 years, maybe 3 years maximum, which means that from the moment you start a project, you go online very quickly, very easily, and with the level of competition today, which is very hard to beat. In the United States today, you need about $2 million per megawatt for a gas assets. With that, you build a lot of renewable power in a fraction of the time, literally a fraction of the time. So if the demand growth will be what has been announced and forecasted and predicted by everybody basically around the world, due to the data centers hype or not, because I think it will be the main source of, the main driver for growth, it will be electrification of residential and industrial consumptions more than the digital revolution. But in any case, whatever will be the driver, there will be electricity demand growth. And if this happens, you have two only solutions: blackouts or do renewables. Because I don't think nobody want to have a blackout in the country. Renewable cannot be stopped. Cannot be stopped, because otherwise you don't have any other alternatives. You cannot bring online gas assets in short time, especially if they have to start the permitting now. Environmentally, it's not easy. I mean, from an environmental point of view, to fully permit a new gas asset wherever around the world. And renewable is much faster and easier. And I mean, the number of players that are acting in the renewable space is much wider. So maybe I'm optimistic, but I'm seeing this I have 25 years of experience in the field. So I think I cannot be too much wrong in saying that even if in certain countries ideologically there can be an opposition, and I'm not referring to US to be clear in this moment, I think that the industrial and economical conditions will basically bring to not block renewables in principle overall. So probably the path will become a little bit more, wavy and complex, but at the end, renewables are in this moment an unavoidable, necessary technological solution for a growing electricity demand globally.
But the problem is, does everybody see it that way? We've seen very recently in Spain, renewables were blamed for the blackout.
Yeah, but blaming, okay.
Exactly, it's the rhetoric.
It's the rhetoric. We are in the post-truth era, that's the problem. But then when you look at the report of, for me, I am an old guy. So I believe in knowledge built in the old way. Who is responsible for it? Who is accountable for it? Who has the knowledge basis to tell us the truth? In this case, it's Red Eléctrica in Spain, which issued a report where renewables were absolutely not blamed. So if you scrap all the stupid things said in the social media, in politically biased newspapers, and in opinionists and whatever, which is garbage from a knowledge point of view, and you go to the basics, you will see that actually renewables are a solution for the problem. Then it's true also to be it's necessary to be said that including renewables in a grid doesn't come at zero cost. Not zero economical cost. Doesn't come at zero economical and technological cost.
Yeah.
You have to plan it, introduce technologies to manage the grid, change the rules sometimes, change the obligation for renewable players to contribute to the grid forming, to contribute to the stability of the grid. But this is discussions and arguments that were exhausted, I think, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, when the level of penetration surpassed 20-25% in central countries. Now, how to manage a grid with a very distributed generation base, mostly made of renewables, it's known, and it's only a matter of doing it. So grid operators are called to be fast responsive to the needs for the grid expansion from one side, the connection expansion on the other side, and the grid management on the other side, in order to allow for this penetration. So the question is not what is the implication of renewables? What do you have to do as a grid operator to allow this penetration to be further achieved? Because let's remember, if we do renewables, we're doing good things for the planet. It's not because, it's the only solution we have to fight the climate change, if we believe in it.
Yeah. Well, that's something I'm not going to touch with a barge pole, but that's what it's coming down to, like, because the rhetoric out of offshore wind is not something ContourGlobal does, but we've seen recently a lot of projects being cancelled or put on ice because of drones in between the turbines, and that was a genuine argument, and that was a reason to not permit. I know that the asset classes ContourGlobal operates in is in favor right now, and if the I suppose what I'm trying to ask is, there's the short-term volatility we've seen, especially over the past 2 years, partly because of the sentiments changing, also partly because of the financing environment becoming a little more tricky. Do you think that's, again, a short-term volatility which will smooth over the long term? Because, like you said, we have to do this. There is no other choice. Or is there more turbulence to come?
The short-term volatility will happen, and this is not the first time, so the only moment in this we have suffering for short-term volatility. If you think the typical, let's say, up and down behavior of the US market when there was the 1 year duration of the PTC, for example, of the PTC and then ITC, it was 1 year, and for every end of year we had this big headache, if this will be confirmed or not. So it was up and down, up and down, up and down all the time. Look at Australia in the last 20 years, has been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and Italy and Spain and whatever. So the volatility and the political, let's say, instability about the favor of renewables are, evident in the history of the last 20 years. In basically, I would say there are very few markets that have been very stable, and I would mention Chile, for example, for the very simple reason that they have never gave any support to renewables. So they said from day one, we are technology neutral, play with it if you can. And so we knew that from the beginning we had to find our space. In the market. So the instability has been quite a characteristic, in certain countries more, in others less, but so that's not, I think, scaring too much the investors in renewables. A long-term, let's say, trend, a negative trend would be much more scary. I don't see it.
Oh, okay.
And there is another you have not mentioned, allow me to say that, another very powerful force that typically act in a market, which is the customer, the demand side. We see the more and more fear from the energy intense businesses to be short of power. That's a very powerful driver for the further penetration. So unless a given country will ban renewables for ideological reasons, of which honestly I don't think this will happen, what will pull renewables farther and farther will be the commercial, industrials, energy intense consumers that want power. Some of them still want sustainable power. The most of them
data
want
centers,
power.
Yeah.
Data center are, I think, very omnivore in this moment. They need power. It's like the mining company, basically.
Yeah.
I think there are brands, big
Yeah.
brands that don't want to compromise on their commitments to become more sustainable, and they will still want buy renewable for the reason they are renewables. All the others will want renewables because it's energy. That's the way I see the future.
That's an interesting, but it's not been all negative. Like in Italy, recently closed Maxi auction. I mean, I'm sure you've talked about this to death.
Absolutely.
ContourGlobal did participate, and you made a bid under the auction, but did not receive a tariff.
Yes. I cannot, let's say, I don't want to be. We were disappointed not to win. We were playing. I mean, we would then be happy to win something.
Yeah.
But we had a reservation price. So we knew that below a certain level we didn't want to compromise our return, and we didn't want to go. So we had the reservation price, meaning not that we renounce to make an investment, that we have an alternative that's better to the max framework.
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing. So first of all, we became relatively big in batteries, in BESS, in very short time. When I took my role in ContourGlobal, we had zero pipeline in BESS globally. We had almost zero pipeline in PV, and zero pipeline in wind. And now we have more than 10 gigawatt of pipeline in less than 2 years. This is amazing, I think.
That's what I was going to say. In the last couple of years, we can't escape ContourGlobal, and that in a good way. And you've scaled quite.
But I also have a very clear objective of my shareholder on the return they want. So I am between these two pressure, the market and my shareholder. And I think I have found the sweet spots to serve the market, the growth ambitions, but also the return desire of my shareholders. So we built this pipeline from scratch, basically best pipeline from scratch. So we're very visible, very sizable in this moment. But also we very quickly moved from the pipeline, from the development to the construction and the operation stage. So as we speak, we are synchronizing our first battery project in Europe, which is in Bulgaria. It's the first step of the repurposing of the coal plant in Maritsa, a project that is very important to us because it's also illustrative of how thermal assets can be reused, part of it, of course, for in a more sustainable way. And this is going online in less than 10 days from now. And then we just approved an investment in Greece. Of another very important big battery project. We have the largest Latin America solar plus BESS asset. We are developing the project in Arizona, which is also solar plus BESS. So we have accumulated let's say, presence in a technology that was not present in ContourGlobal in very record time, I think. So we're building knowledge in terms of market development, engineering, and most importantly, the way to trade those assets in the market. So to make money not only from the price arbitrage that you have from the peak hour and the off-peak peak hours and off-peak hours, but also let's say using the battery for the ancillary services, especially in the most advanced regulations, when you can use the batteries for voltage and frequency regulations and ancillary services like it is done typically with the rotating machines like gas turbines. So that's I think it's been an achievement from my team. That in little time we are now very visible in the best market, to the point that I think now the best manufacturer, when they come to Europe, they always pay a visit to us in Milano. I'm very proud of it. They come to visit us. They want to work with us. They are offering their new technologies. They are offering, I hope, a very good price. So I think it's one invisible step in the new ContourGlobal that we're building.
That's interesting. I want to talk about like the future of the BESS market, but quickly, while we were on Maxi, do you think you will make a bid in the upcoming auctions, because there are deadlines for 2029, so we assume there will be another one in the next 6 months? But
definitely yes. Actually, this is a message for the Italian market. We are here. We understood where we've been a little bit too conservative, so we're here to win.
Okay.
Yes, we will participate always with a reservation price. So we want to make money with our assets. It's not a prestigious matter, so we don't I mean, winning and losing money doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So we want to win, making money. So we will participate in the capacity tender and in the max. There will be two schemes available: capacity market and max. They are slightly different.
Yeah.
We like more the capacity, by the way. So we will participate in both, and we'll keep going through the, let's say, private merchant schemes that I told before.
Revenue stacking.
Yes.
That seems to be quite...
We will be active in batteries in most of the... so we'll be active in the UK, we'll be active in Spain, we'll be active in Italy, we'll be active in Greece and in Bulgaria. So in 5... And in Germany, when our development will come to mature to have a ready-to-build project. So we'll have 6 countries, 6 markets in Europe. We will be active in the United States. With batteries, probably in ERCOT, in CAISO, in PJM. We will be active in Chile. Those are the markets where we're going to play the best. But for me, the sweet spot of BESS is the integration with renewables, in particular with solar. So I love to think that the most important cluster for new capacity addition for ContourGlobal in the next years will be solar and wind. Integrated with, especially solar, which is naturally fit perfectly together, like we demonstrated in Quillagua and Victor Jara in Chile, and like we are now about to demonstrate to the world in the United States of America, in Arizona/California. So that's, I think, what we want to become one of the best player in solar plus BESS. In the world.
Antonio, you're anticipating my questions. I was going to ask ContourGlobal's strategy or your stand on co-located versus standalone. So from what you've said, you will move more towards the co-located?
When it's possible, they serve different purposes, first of all. So batteries can serve to move power, solar power in particular, from, let's say, solar hours to non-solar hours. So allowing solar penetration farther from the natural limitation that you have it, because of course in any market you have a certain peak demand during the solar hours, and having more solar than you need in that moment, it's ridiculous, it makes no sense. So with the batteries you can move a little bit of, I mean actually not a little bit, because with the cost of BESS going down very fast and with the capability of batteries increasing technologically every day, basically you can do much more. So now the 4-hour duration, the 6-hour duration, the 8-hour duration are no longer a dream. In Chile we have 6.5 hours duration.
That's the longest?
In the longest in the moment, but we're thinking of 8 hours now.
Oh wow.
We are thinking of 8 hours. So if you have space for the solar field and for the battery field, you can harvest the energy during the day and sell more as a baseload product for the customers that need to consume power across maybe 12 hours or more. So that's the typical use of an integrated project. But then the batteries can serve also for coping with congestions, grid instability, etc. So you can use the batteries for example, smoothing the price peaks, charging during the low hours and selling power during the high price, the low price hours, and selling during the high price hours. In this way, smoothing the price curve during a day. And also coping with inertia, coping with, because of course the substitution of rotating technologies like gas turbines with non-rotating technologies like solar create a problem of inertia into the system. Inertia is the capability of the grid to resist to any turbulences in the grid itself, okay? It's like a car, okay? When you are coasting, the car doesn't stop immediately. It has a mass that allow you to go a little bit over the climb, let's say. And so the same is for a grid. So the batteries have this capability through the inverters to produce this synthetic inertia, which is not related to mass, that's why it's synthetic inertia, but responding to the variation of the grid conditions in actually even faster than the physical inertia. And so that's a very, let's say, valuable use in countries where, in markets and grids where the solar in particular is penetrating above what was considered the natural technological threshold. So now it was considered that more than X%, I think it was 56% was really literally impossible. And now, in the opinion of the, not the, you know, not on the social media, in the opinion of the experts, with the best, the level of penetration of solar is now almost uncapped.
Wow. So the BESS is in, let's say, vogue because the importance of battery storage for firming has been like a political talking point as well. So that's interesting. But would ContourGlobal consider let's say, a fossil fuel asset, like you've started with gas, is there a place for something like that in the environment we're going towards?
Definitely, gas is very valuable because in the journey of adding renewables as much as we can. I want to remind that for the purpose of cleaning and making a more sustainable solution, because we still have to remember every day we are living a tragedy. This is the climate change.
Yeah.
Climate change is not a joke. It's something very severe. And the sole solution we've found so far is to burn less fossil fuels and to use more renewables. I want to underline this, and this moves me a lot personally. I would say that gas is the transition fuels that we need because it's cleaner than coal and can allow the penetration of renewables. So probably we will have gas assets where we not burn that much gas, but we will use as capacity available to sustain the system together with the batteries in order to allow for the renewable to penetrate and use them only when we have scarcity of natural resources, like for example during non-sunny days, or also to cope with imbalances between winter and summer that typically, especially in certain areas of the world, is very visible. So the solar power you can produce during summer is much higher than what you can produce during the winter. So these seasonal imbalances are difficult to be coped with batteries, because batteries are a short-term storage solution. So we have a longer-term storage solution like the hydro basin and stuff like that, but the role of gas is fundamental in the stability of a system. So we are proudly a gas player, a gas operator. We have combined cycles up and running in Texas, in California, in New Mexico, and in Spain. And we're thinking to increase our fleet base by buying maybe one asset, and also maybe in the
where?
We are targeting US.
Okay.
We're targeting US. Or maybe UK, but mostly US. But we're also thinking to start some developments for our nephews. It's a very long journey, but why not to do that? So we will start also some developments there. And this is about the transition role of renewables. Battery will penetrate much more than today in every market. We're talking of gigawatts and gigawatts of capacity addition all around the world. And so it will be a race, I think, between gas and batteries for the role they have of stabilizers in the grid.
Okay.
Yes, and so it will be an interesting journey to live.
Well, that's with the cost of gas-peaking plants, I'm sure it will be interesting to see what kind of players will come forward to finance them. Yeah,
it's true. So in this moment, I think the costs are high also because there is a lot of demand and not much supply. And so, but if the price stays so high, the supply will necessarily increase because it's become very attractive industrial market. And so probably there will be a rebalancing between cost and value of those assets that today are probably at their peak, historical peak.
So ContourGlobal does batteries. Now, that's your main focus now. Are there any technologies you see the company picking up maybe in the next 5 years?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to comment on what you said. So our main technology, it's not, I don't think it's our main technology. Our main technology remains generation. Batteries doesn't generate power.
Okay.
Let's remember this, because people think like hydrogen. People think it's a source of power. It's not. So we need to generate electricity. So we need solar and wind and hydro, and gas. So we will keep focusing expanding the generation. So we will invest a lot in solar. So solar and batteries. This is important to say. To serve the customers' growing need for electricity, we need additional energy supply. So batteries don't supply energy. They just move it, store it for a while, and they give back to the grid. So we need to generate more, and we'll do this mostly with solar and some wind.
That's interesting.
And in the next, we are looking with curiosity to biogas. We're looking to hydrogen. But frankly speaking, I don't think there will be nothing for us for minimum the next 5 years, because of course we're looking also with interest to the development in the nuclear technologies.
That was my next question. Yeah,
I'm a nuclear guy. I believe honestly.
The large-scale ones or the SMRs that are becoming
In
more
general,
popular?
I think around the nuclear, we have made, as in Europe in particular, big strategic mistakes. Better close faster coal than nuclear, for example. When we took political decision in Europe to anticipate the closure of nuclear plants, like in Germany, for example,
Germany, yeah.
ironically, we're now having a bigger problem. We had a safety problem, a security safety problem there, and now we're coping with a global problem, which is, the CO2 emission, etc. So probably it's better to close coal rather than renuke. But we are an independent power producer. We are aiming in 2030 to be 10 gigawatts company. If we're thinking of the nuclear plant of today, so even the fourth generation, this would be not for independent power producers. It would be for large conglomerates like Enel, Iberdrola, Statkraft, Nextira, the big players.
Always backed by the governments?
Right, exactly. Most of them back. Actually, I think even for them would be very difficult. I think the development of a large nuclear plant, in the world, there have been very few cases of purely private companies developing nuclear power. This is in the UK, almost bankrupt, and maybe in the US. The rest of the world has been governmental driven, because only the government has the shoulder to support, ever extending business plan, ever extending costs, increasing costs. So so for a company this is impossible from all point of view. If the SMR technology will progress. Beyond the narrative and the stupid storytelling that we see today in the newspapers, that selling this as an available technology, which is not. There is no SMR in the Western world ready to buy. If you want to invest today in SMR, I would be ready. You don't have the product. Okay? First of all, let's clarify this. And then we don't have the product, and you don't have the prototype. So if even the prototype is not available, so you need 5 years from now, this is what they say, to have a working, a functioning and operating prototype to test that is reliable, that is safe, and this is scalable.
A
prototype, not an industrial solution, because from prototype to industrial solution, then you have to ensure
testing phase,
manufacturability, standardization, and so on and so on. So I think it's a journey of 10 years from now, maybe less. I honestly, as citizen of this planet, I hope can be 10 years, 7 years rather than 10, but we need 10 years minimum. If the size of 70, 80 megawatt, which is what they promise, will be economically and technologically doable, maybe in that field, independent power producer can have a play, can have a role, because it will be like building a sort of combined cycle, not much more, let's say, complex from the economical, financial, and technological point of view. If the SMR will not deliver the promise they're making today, and the nuclear will mean only third plus or fourth generation large plants, 1,000 megawatts, unpredictable cost, unpredictable timing, that would be completely banned to the IPPs, and it would be a play for, I would not say the large companies, I would say governmental companies. This is my opinion. So I honestly hope that SMR can come as a technology solutions possible. It will stay unanswered the problem of the local acceptance, because rather than having one power station, you will have 10 of them spread around, municipalities and geographies, and it's still nuclear. Even if safer, it will be not easy to convince people to have a nuclear plant on their back. They are making opposition to BESS, they are making opposition to PV. Can you imagine the opposition to a small nuclear plant? I imagine it would be very difficult. But if all these will be solved, maybe in 10 years from now, a company like ContourGlobal can think to invest in SMR.
That would, in fact, be news. Even without the SMRs, you are keeping us in the newsroom quite busy with the amount of deals you have, even in an environment that was meant to be slowing down. So before I let you go, Antonio, to your very busy day, celebrations later tonight. So your 20-year anniversary, there's another little change. You've rebranded. Yes. What's the significance of the rebrand?
Well, first of all, let me say, this is the first rebranding experience in my life. Fortunately, I did it with a person that is Joao Duarte, my colleague, that did it in the company where we were working before.
Yeah.
So he is a strong expert in this kind of things. And this is a very interesting because, it's a little bit like a psychological game here. What do you see there? Well, first of all, I see, doing the right power forward, doing power right. So, this is gesture, meaning it's okay.
Yeah.
So I see a little bit of this.
Oh, no, I can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I can see a spinning wheel, like, a blade, a turbine, maybe, which is our legacy. We started with, gas and coal turbines. Yeah. But I see also the rays of the sun, departing from the center and going everywhere in the solar system. So there are a number of things I see. And then I'm very happy, very proud of the lettering of the fonts, because they are proprietary. So this is not just a font, this is designed with us, for us. So it has been a very nice experience, and I think will testimony the new phase of ContourGlobal. I want to be the new phase. So we are what we are what we were, but we are embracing a new future. And so this is the new phase of ContourGlobal, and I hope you like it.
So before we let you go, Antonio, is there anything you would like to say at this momentous milestone?
Well, first of all, we are recording this interview in the morning of the celebration party. So I hope we will have a lot of fun, a little bit of emotions also for the 20 years. We will have here the founder, our shareholder, our oldest colleagues, and our newest colleagues. So it will be a lot of, I think, emotions. I really believe in it. You have to love what you do. Yeah. So there is a dream. We really want to bring a better solution for what is considered today probably one of the most fundamental needs and fundamental rights for the human modern societies, which is electricity. So doing this in the right way, I think it's our contribution to a better world, and we really are building a ContourGlobal around this concept of doing things right. And one of the things I hope we have done right is the rebranding, which I'm very proud of. So if you like it, follow us.
Yes, definitely. And again, I'm very sad to be missing the festivities of later today. But
I can invite you for the next 20.
Definitely, yes. I will not miss that.
No, 20 is too long. Let's say 25. When we celebrate 25, you will be my guest.
Definitely. But I'm sure I'll have cause to bother you for one or few deals before long anyway. So until then.